ladies and gentlemen, to the She Knows Pro Football podcast. Once again, I'm Alice, aka the NFL Girl. And once again, I got my good friend Dominick here with me from Fantasy Hot Read. Dominick, how you doing this evening?
I'm not doing too bad. It was a pretty good Christmas. I hope you had your good Christmas as well. Mine was pretty good because Alvin Kamara tied the NFL record with 6 rushing touchdowns and had his career high with 155 rushing yards for my Saints to win. So I was happy.
You guys, I had an awesome Christmas. I had to work that day, but it was fine. I had a great day. Got to see the Raiders blow a game. I got to see Alvin Kamara represent our Vols for life. Put it out there, you guys. It was an awesome game. I had a great weekend. It was a great weekend of football. Let's go. Well, you guys, we are up to week 17. It is over. This is the final week of the season. How the hell did we get here, you guys? Because going through COVID has been an amazing, incredible, sometimes purely horrific experience. But we are here. We got through it, and we are at week 17. Now, with week 17, we got no Thursday games. We got no Friday games. We got no Monday games. We got no Saturday games. This is all down to our Sunday games. Let's get started right at the top with our early games, starting with the 10-5 Miami Dolphins headed to Buffalo to face the 12-3 Bills. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, this one's pretty tough because the Bills can move up to number 2 if they want to, but we don't even know if they really want to because it's not going to matter. They are going to get a home game here, so that won't matter. They're going to play the Chiefs in the championship game most likely if they get there, so it's going to be a road game there anyway, so they're not going to have to worry about it until that point. So I don't think they're going to play their starters for long if they play them at all. The last time they were in the playoffs, Josh Allen played the first drive, and that was it. Miami has to win this game to get in. They know that. They're going to be playing hard here. It's going to be physical. Buffalo is not going to want to get anybody hurt, so they're not going to play their players for long here, so I'm going to take the Dolphins to win this game.
Week 17, we're going to see a lot of starters sitting or play maybe just a quarter or a half or something to that effect for these teams that are already locked into the playoffs or already been eliminated. There's no reason to keep starting people at this point. Miami is a win and get in, so expect to see their starters in. That amazingly includes Tua, not Ryan Fitzpatrick. I know you guys, I'm like you. Why not put Ryan Fitzpatrick in to start, considering what he did at the end of the game last week? I don't get to make those decisions. Tua's in. It's going to be fine. Maybe Fitzmagic will come in at some point during the game, but it's going to be an awesome game. I expect good things out of Miami because I expect Buffalo to rest their starters. Maybe they play a quarter, maybe they play a half. They're not going to play a whole game because they have nothing to play for. They're already locked in and loaded. They're all set to go. They're already 12-3. They're set. So I'm like Dominick in this one, simply for the fact that I don't expect to see Buffalo starters through the whole game. I got to give this game to the Dolphins.
Yeah, there would be nothing better than having the Dolphins win this game. And then if they win this game, I think they might actually have to play the Bills next week, depending on how things work out. So they could beat Josh Allen. You could have Ryan Fitzpatrick come in, beat Josh Allen, have him come in again and beat Patrick Mahomes. Then in the Super Bowl, you can have him beat Aaron Rodgers.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Holy hell. I'm excited for these Bills, you guys. I'm excited to see them in the playoffs. And I'm even more excited to see Dolphins and see what they do, whether they go with Fitzmagic if they do get in or if they stick with Tua. Next up, we got the 10-5 Baltimore Ravens headed to Cincinnati to face the 4-10-1 Bengals. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, this one's easy. Cincinnati has nothing to play for. Baltimore has everything to play for. They have to win to get in as well. I believe if they win, I think they would be the 6th seed, I believe. The most likely way it would pan out, so they would actually play Buffalo, which would be I think it's going to be a very good game, that defense against Buffalo's offense. But I do think they're going to crush in this game. They're favored by 12.5 points right now, and I can see them easily covering that.
Cincinnati, again, nothing to play for. Season is over. They got some things that they need to figure out for next season, and we'll see how that's going to shake out for them. I'll be happy to see Joe Burrow back next season to see if he can move forward after all the damage that was happened to his knee. I've seen some video of him out there. It looks like he's recovering slowly, but he is moving forward, so I look forward to what they'll be able to do next season. The Ravens, meanwhile, winning, they can get in, so you guys, they are going to come in there fired up to run all over these Bengals team. I expect good things out of this squad, especially on that offense. Definitely giving this one to the Ravens just for how fired up and pumped up and ready to get into the playoffs they're ready to be. Next up, we got the 12-3 Pittsburgh Steelers headed to Cleveland to face the 10-5 Browns. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, this one's pretty easy to call too. Like we said, a lot of these are going to be easy to call just because of who's going to be playing and who's not going to be playing. Mike Tomlin already said that Big Ben's not going to play, Deontay Johnson's not going to play, Juju's not going to play, TJ Watt is not going to play, Hayden's probably not going to play. You're not going to have pretty much anybody on the Pittsburgh side of the ball that's going to be playing. Everybody's going to be playing on Cleveland because they do have to win to have a chance to get in. So they're going to have Nick Chubb, they're going to have Baker Mayfield, they're going to have everybody going 100%. So I think they're going to win this game.
Pittsburgh has already locked their spot into the playoffs. They are in. They got nothing to play for at this point. They're ready to roll starting next week. So that being said, why start your starter? They're not. Mason Rudolph is going to be our starting quarterback. We're going to see a lot of the backups playing. Cleveland, meanwhile, because of what happened last week with their wide receivers and the fact that they lost the game, they're going to have to start their starters because it's a win and get in situation for them. And they are doing everything they can to get their little behinds in this playoff race. So I expect to see a fired up Baker Mayfield. We will know as of Thursday whether or not they will have their wide receivers back. It's progressing in the direction that they will be fine as far as all of them being able to come back this coming weekend. That's the case. All of them are going to be fired up to play because I saw Jarvis Landry during the game last week was pissed that he wasn't in there. So he's going to be excited. He's going to be ready. They're going to really ground and pound. I'm mad at them that they didn't do it last week. I expect more out of them this week with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Definitely got to give this one to Cleveland because Pittsburgh is, like I said, with them resting all their starters and Cleveland needing this to get in, absolutely think the Browns are going to pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like Kevin Stefanski and the job he's been doing there in Cleveland this year, but how could you have Baker Mayfield throw 53 times when every one of your wide receivers is on the COVID list?
Throw 53 times and only rush 15 times. Makes no sense when none of your starting wide receivers are there. This is the one huge knock I got to give him for that game. So I'm hoping that he turns it around this game and really puts his full emphasis to get this team into the playoffs. Next up, we got the 6-9 Minnesota Vikings headed to Detroit to face the 5-10 Lions. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, neither of these teams have anybody to play for, but Minnesota is actually healthy and they have some players there. Kirk Cousins is going to get the ball to Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen a lot in this game. I would have said they were going to use Dalvin Cook, but unfortunately he had a family emergency where his father passed away, so he is not going to be able to play in this game because he had to go home to Florida. That said, on the other side of the ball, Detroit is going to have TJ Hawkinson. They're going to have DeAndre Swift. They're going to have that's about it because Matthew Stafford is not going to play in this game. It's probably not going to be Chase Daniel after the show that he put on last week, so it's probably going to be David Blau. They have nothing going on in this game. Minnesota, like I said, at least has an offense, and even though their defense isn't great against this Detroit offense, they're going to be good enough. So I think Minnesota is going to close out the year with a win.
Like Dominic said, neither of these teams have anything to play for at this point but pride. Unfortunately for Minnesota, they have to play for pride without their starting running back, and I'm sad to say that his reason being with his father passing. My condolences to Cook and his family on the passing of his father. So he will not be in for this game. I do expect Kirk Cousins to put together a good game behind Adam Thielen there. I expect good things out of Minnesota in this game also because Detroit, if Matthew Stafford somehow figures out a way to get healthy enough to even get into this game, he's going to be hobbled up very badly. He has a very nasty ankle injury. So I actually do not expect him to start. And even if he does come in, it will be only for a few plays and then David Blau will take over. And I don't expect good things out of that. I do not think the Lions have a way to get a win in this game. I do think that the Vikings have motivation, play for Cook this week, you guys. Give it everything you got just for him. And so I see the Vikings being able to pull off a win and an easy one at that. Next up, we got the 2-13 New York Jets headed to New England to face the 6-9 Patriots. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, this is obviously the marquee matchup of the weekend. I mean, we already had Bill Belichick come out and say that if Adam Gase gets fired, which they already said they're going to fire him, that Sam Darnold will never have any better coaching than he does now. That's got to be some Obi-Wan Kenobi Jedi mind tricks that he's trying to play on ownership there in New York. Still funny to say, even Bill Belichick had to crack a smile when he said that. Either way, neither of these teams are good. The Jets can't move up in the draft. They can't move down in the draft, so they're going to play to win, but they're not going to have anybody really to do it with. Frank Gore's not going to be there. Michael Piron's not going to be there, so they're not going to have a running game. Obviously, New England hasn't been good on defense. Stephon Gilmore is out for the rest of the year. He's out with his ACL, so he's not going to play in this game either. So I think it's going to be a very close game, and it's tough to figure out who's going to win, but I do think that Bill Belichick doesn't want to end the year on a bad note, so I'm going to take the Patriots in this one.
You guys, the Jets are just a terrible ass team. I get that they are at 2-13 and they claim that they weren't tanking all season. Okay, whatever. You got your 2 wins. You go on to face the Patriots without a running game at all because LaMichael Piron and Frank Gore are both going to be out. So you don't have a ground game, meaning you're having to lean completely on Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold gets flustered. And when Sam Darnold gets flustered, he throws interceptions. Even to a banged up Patriots defense, I expect him to throw at least 1 or 2 interceptions in that game. Don't have high hopes for him. Hoping that Adam Gase gets fired. I know it's a terrible thing to say. I don't care at this point. I do not like Adam Gase, and I look forward to him getting fired. Patriots, meanwhile, I don't know what's going to happen in the future for Cam Newton. He only signed a 1-year deal. I'm hoping that he will be back there. I'm thinking that he would have good chemistry and good energy there, continuing to move forward Bill Belichick, but I don't know that that's going to be a thing. Just the way that this season went. Part of it was COVID. Part of it was just poor play. Part of it was injuries. It was too much all at the same time. I wish him luck there in the future. As far as this game goes, definitely giving this one to the Patriots. They're a little bit healthier and they got a little bit more weapons. Have to give it to them.
I think Cam Newton just needs to go to like In Vogue magazine or something to become a fashion stylist.
I think that's his next career goal after this. Next up, we got the 6-9 Dallas Cowboys headed to New York to face the 5-10 Giants. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, this one's tough. Dallas has been playing good the past couple of weeks, but a lot of times when somebody's playing good like that, they're not really playing over their heads. I think that Andy Dalton has gotten better, but they need to come crashing down. It might happen this week in New York against a division rival that they always play each other extremely tough. The Giants defense has actually been pretty good this year. James Bradbury is a Pro Bowler. He should be an All-Pro. He's going to be there to probably cover Amari Cooper. We're going to have to hope that Michael Gallup has a game like he did last week where he had 121 and 2 touchdowns. Hopefully CeeDee Lamb can get another touchdown as well. Hopefully Ezekiel Elliott can do something. A lot of people expect Dallas to come crashing down this week. I'm not so necessarily sure. So as much as tough as it is, I think that Dallas is going to be able to go into New York. It's going to be close, but I do think that Dallas is going to be able to win it, maybe like on a last-second field goal like Miami did last week.
Listen, these are division rivals that in reality, in real life, do not like each other. And so I expect a really tough, brutal, nasty matchup because both of them are trying to play for something. The Cowboys absolutely are trying to get their little raggedy team into the playoffs. Can they do it? I don't think so. However, that being said, I actually like this offense a little more than I like the Giants offense. Danny Dimes has been Danny Penny's most of this season, unfortunately, and that's when he's been healthy, which hasn't been every game, unfortunately. Whereas I've seen more out of, let's say, Dallas's receivers than anyone else. I love CeeDee Lamb. I love what he's done this season more than what I've seen out of Gallup and Cooper, obviously. CeeDee has been his go-to, and so he's had an impressive season. Meanwhile, I haven't seen as much out of Zeke Elliott, but Tony Pollard kind of stepped up there. As much as I would like to see the Giants, just because of how well their defense has been playing, be able to pull off this shocking win, I think that Cowboys are going to be able to get this. As much as it hurts me to say that because I do not like the Cowboys, I absolutely expect the Cowboys to pull off a win, but I don't know for sure if that's going to get them into the playoffs because they got to lean on some other people, but they will get the win. Next up, we got the 4-11 Atlanta Falcons headed to Tampa to face the 10-5 Buccaneers. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, Bruce Arians said earlier that he wasn't going to play his players. Now he's saying that he is going to play them. They don't really have anything to play for. They're either locked into the 5 or 6 seed. And honestly, I don't think it really matters who they're going to be playing. I'm sure they'd rather have the 5 seed because I'd rather play Washington or New York or Dallas than I would Seattle or New Orleans or possibly Green Bay. So I do think they want to keep that 5 seed. So I think until they get it out of hand, possibly they could play. If they were sitting everybody, I would certainly take Atlanta in this one because I do like Calvin Ridley. But because I do think that they want to keep that 5 seed, I do think they're going to be playing their players at least most of the game, so I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win this one at home.
With Bruce Arians not being clear on whether or not everybody's going to start, and if they do start, how long they're going to be in the game, I have to take Tampa in this game, simply because that means that they're going to try and go in there and wreck shop. And I expect a really good game out of this team. It's as simple as that. Now, if the score starts to get away from Tampa where they're up by, like, let's say 2 or 3 or 4 scores or something to that effect, which I'm not expecting against a division rival like the Falcons. But if it did, then I could see him resting his starters. I know how Bruce Arians thinks, though. though. He isn't the type to rest his starters. He's the type, no, we are going to play every damn game so we are ready to go when we get into the playoffs. That resting thing doesn't always help a team. Going in there fired up and ready to play every week. And I think Bruce Arians is one of those coaches that has that mentality. And so I expect Tampa to play all their starters. I expect them to really go in there and beat the hell out of Atlanta. As much as I love Atlanta, I love Calvin Ridley and I love Matt Ryan, but I just expect good things out of Tampa Bay. And the way they've been rolling lately, I expect even more in this game, giving this one to the Buccaneers. Next up, we got the 12-3 Green Bay Packers headed to Chicago to face the 8-7 Bears. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, it's another one we don't know what Green Bay is going to do because technically they're pretty much locked into the one. There's ways that they could lose it, but it's not likely. So I do think they're going to play most of their starters for at least 2 or 3, either the half or maybe 3/4. I don't think they want to give Green Bay, because as much as you said Dallas and the Giants hate each other, which they do, Green Bay and Chicago is a different level. I mean, there's been stories out there, which you probably saw a couple years ago, about like the car salesman in Chicago was born and raised in Green Bay, and he wore a Green Bay tie to the dealership during game day or whatever, and they fired him because he refused to switch his tie and everything. So just, stuff like that. It's just really crazy stuff that happens there. So they don't want Chicago to get into the playoffs. They don't want to be the one that loses to them to get them into the playoffs. So I do think they're going to play to win the game. But Chicago is playing outstanding right now. They started off slow last week against Jacksonville. And then after the Jacksonville fans really got into it and started cheering them on, they just took over and ended up scoring 40 on them. They could score 40 on Green Bay here again, but that's more because Green Bay's defense is not that great. I don't think they're going to get to 40, but I think both these teams are going to get to 27 or 30. So it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I do think the Bears are actually going to win this one.
Wow. Okay. So Bears win and get themselves into the playoffs. That's a really good pick. You guys, if the Packers sit their starters, even at some point, let's say that the Packers play their starters in the first half just to keep them, their bodies warmed up so that they're prepared to go into the playoffs. And then they decide to rest them in the second half and the Bears really get out there and roll. I know that Dominic is saying that the Bears can pull it off. I really don't see that happening. I really see the Packers wanting to get this win because they want to for sure lock up the 1 seed. They don't want it to come down to if this team loses and this team loses, then they get this. Or no, if they finish 13-3, it's a wrap. They get the 1 seed. And I feel like the Packers, in particular, the way Aaron Rodgers has come in fired up this season and really is on the verge of probably another MVP, he's going to be ready to stomp down the Bears, keep them out of the playoffs, get them the 1 seed so that they can get some rest for a week. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to see the Bears get in just on some fluky thing, definitely see the Packers getting the win here. Simply because, like I said, Aaron Rodgers is on some next level type thing and they want that 1 seed bad. Next up, we got the 7-8 Las Vegas Raiders headed to Denver to face the 5-10 Broncos. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, the Raiders' offense is as bad as their defense is good, but Denver has neither. So I'm going to have to take the Raiders in this game. Derek Carr came back last week. I was just surprised he was able to. I'm surprised his groin was even attached, but he did come back. Nelson Aguilar has actually been their wide receiver 1 this year, which is scary to say, especially if you're a Philadelphia fan. You saw what he did here. Josh Jacobs is doing very good as well. Their offensive line is doing great, so I think they're going to be able to do anything they want to against the Denver Broncos. Their defense is so bad that I think Denver's going to be able to score on them as well, so it should be probably somewhere in the 20s for both teams, but I do think Oakland's going to be able to pull it out.
Yeah, Denver is just a terrible team. It's not all injuries. They're just bad. I'm not a fan of Fangio. I don't know whether or not he will last there. They may give him another season, but not a fan of him at all. Not a fan of what he's doing with this team. They're just a terrible-ass team on both sides of the ball. Vegas, meanwhile, the L that they took last week was, let's say, shocking. You leave 19 seconds left on the clock, you should win a game. And just the stupidity of things that went wrong for them on that defense is staggering. They shouldn't even be in a position that they're in, but they are, so whatever. But the way that offense was clicking and playing in that game was amazing. They are so good this year. This chemistry Derek Carr has with Darren Waller is something to see every single week, and I love it. I love what I'm seeing out of that matchup. I like Darren Waller. I'm not a Raiders fan, but I like Darren Waller, and I like Josh Jacobs. So I have my little favorites on that team that I watch every week. I don't see a way for Denver to get a win. I just don't. They're trash offense, and they're trash defense. Vegas may have a trash defense, but they at least got a great offense. So definitely see the Raiders pulling off the win in this game.
And yeah, John Elway did come out earlier and say that Nick Fangio would be back, but of course that's predicated on the fact that John Elway is going to come back too.
That part. Oh, good Lord. Next up, we got the 1-14 Jacksonville Jaguars headed to Indianapolis to face the 10-5 Colts. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, the only win the Jaguars got this year was against the Colts, so we know they can beat them. They're not going to do it this week, though. Phillip Rivers came out earlier and said that if they lose this game, this might be his swan song. He may just retire after this year if they don't make the playoffs. And the sad thing is, we were talking about earlier, if they win this game and them, Miami, Cleveland, and Tennessee all finish at 11-5, they are going to be out of the playoffs because they lose the tiebreaker to Tennessee, and then they lose the tiebreaker to everybody else as well. So that would be tough to have, where we're talking about, obviously, the NFC East champion either going to have 9 or 10 losses making the playoffs, and then Chicago possibly having 8 losses and making the playoffs, and then in the AFC you're having a team that's 11-5 and misses the playoffs. So it's crazy to say, but they are going to have to deal with it because they are going to win this game and it's not even going to be close.
Jaguars are just trash. Yes, they got their one win of the season. I do not see a way for them to get another win. Definitely not here. They're back to Mike Glennon as their starting QB. The experiment with Gardner Minshew coming back as the starter did not work out. And going back to Mike Glennon is not going to work out this week. The Colts have something to play for. They're still trying to get into the playoffs. And Phillip Rivers has this team fired up by making a statement like, listen, you guys, if we lose this, I'm done. I'll walk away from this. I ain't got nothing left to play for, okay? And hearing that, if I was one of his teammates, I'd be like, oh, we got to play for Phil. Phil needs to get into the playoffs. Phil needs to show that he could carry this team and carry them far into the playoffs. Good for them. And I hope that's enough of an incentive for them to really play with some heart this week and get this win and get a definitive win. I don't just want them to beat Jacksonville. I want them to beat the hell out of Jacksonville. So it leaves no question mark on how much better of a team that they are than the Jaguars, because that's the team that they lost to. So they need to beat the hell out of them. So I'm definitely giving this game to the Colts. Next up, we got the 6-9 Los Angeles Chargers headed to Kansas City to face the 14-1 Chiefs. Dominic, who you got?
I would say the Chargers are going to charger, but in this game, they're not going to be going up against anybody. Mahomes is going to sit. Hill's going to sit. Kelsey's going to sit. I'm guessing they may have Honey Badger sit on the other side of the ball. They may have everybody sitting. Andy Reid is known for that. I don't really agree with it, especially when you have a bye. You're giving them 2 weeks off, and that may be a little tough. They may be rusty coming out, but he's doing it anyway. Obviously, they don't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire either. On the other side, the Chargers are basically playing for Anthony Lynn's job. I don't think he should keep the job. I think he should be let go. He's a great guy and everything from what I hear. Maybe he'll catch on somewhere as an offense coordinator, but I don't think he's a head coach right now. But they are going to have Justin Herbert in this game. They're going to have Austin Eckler. They have Keenan Allen's going to be back healthy in this game. Mike Williams is going to be healthy in this game, at least to start. So I do think they're going to be able to go into Kansas City. And just because Kansas City's not playing anybody, I do think that the Chargers are going to win this game.
Again, this is another one of these teams that's locked up their playoff spot, and therefore they have nothing left to play for. And Kansas City is so far ahead of every other team that they can't even lose their number one spot. They already have their spot locked up, and they already have the bye week locked up. So they got nothing to play for. So everybody's going to sit. They're going to start Chad Henne at quarterback. That's fine. And that being said, Chargers are coming in there. They are starting all of their starters. And they're going to have Keenan Allen in there. And they're going to have Justin Herbert, who's having a phenomenal season this year, who's already thrown a record 28 touchdowns for a rookie QB, which is fabulous to see. Definitely he is the quarterback of the future there. Yes, I absolutely could see the Chargers being able to pull off a win for the exact same reason that Dominic is saying. They are resting all of their starters in Kansas City because they have nothing left to play for at this point. Their spot is already locked up. Give them the 2 weeks off and get some rest and get everybody back healthy so they're ready to go in a couple of weeks in these playoffs. So yeah, just for that reason alone, I'm giving this game to the Chargers.
Yeah, I think they are like you said, I think they are the only team, the Chiefs, that cannot move up or down in the playoffs based on what happens this week. They're locked into number one, and that's it.
Exactly. So nothing to play for. Why start anybody? Next up, we got the 8-7 Arizona Cardinals headed to Los Angeles to face the 9-6 Rams. Dominic, who you got?
This one's tough. I think the Rams are the better team. I think they have the best defense in the league right now. Arizona obviously is coming to this game. They're kind of Jekyll and Hyde. You never know what the hell you're going to get out of them. 1 week they play good. The next week they play bad. Then the next 4 weeks they play good. Then they play terrible for a month and a half. So we don't know. Kyler Murray has an ankle injury in this game. We do know that Jared Goff is going to miss this game with a broken thumb. He just had surgery on it. So John Wolford's going to be playing behind center. They're also going to be missing their top 2 running backs. So it's going to be Malcolm Brown behind center. Cooper Kupp is likely out for this game. I do think their defense is still good enough, though. They always always seem to crush Arizona for some reason. It's weird in that division where these teams always seem to have each other's numbers. Like San Francisco always has the Rams number, Los Angeles always has Arizona's number, Seattle always has Arizona. It's just weird how they do it. So I do think that Los Angeles is going to be able to win this game, and they're going to get into the playoffs.
The Rams, what has been saving the Rams this season is their defense. They have really, really good defense. Love Aaron Donald. Love what Jalen Ramsey has been doing this season. They've had some fluky games where I didn't understand why they lost the game other than the offense didn't play up to par. And so I expect a good, close game in this game simply for that reason. Keep in mind, we are going to be without Jared Goff this week. We're going to be without Cam Akers. We may or may not be without Cooper Kupp. All of those things are significant factors. I expect that to be an issue, but they have such a good defense. So it's going to be a close matchup. I expect that they will be able to pick Kyler Murray off. I just do, because Kyler's playing with injury. He's a little hobbled, so not playing up to full speed is going to be an issue in this game. Arizona's had some great weeks and phenomenal games, and they've had some games where I don't understand why Nuke isn't getting the ball more. Is it the double coverage? Is it just that their ball isn't getting there because of the shoulder injury that Kyler Murray suffered previously? It's so many question marks. I expect, again, like I said, I expect a very close game. I expect a very tight matchup. But at the end of the day, I think the Cardinals can pull this off. I really have faith in what Kyler and Nuke can do when they are playing full speed, and they know they are playing for something there. So I 1,000% think that they can pull this off. I'm giving this one to the Cardinals. Next up, we got the 11-4 Seattle Seahawks headed technically to Arizona to face the 6-9 San Francisco 49ers. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, San Francisco's just had a very tough year this year between the being knocked out of their own home, being all the injuries they've had. Seattle comes into this game, as we talked about with Green Bay earlier, and we'll talk about with New Orleans in a little bit. They have to win this game to have a chance at the number 1 seed, and they also have a chance at the number 2 seed, depending on what happens with New Orleans. So I do think that they are going to be able to win this game against San Francisco, going up against C.J. Beathard, Jordan Reed, possibly George Kittle again, although I don't know why they keep bringing him back since they can't really go anywhere. And Brandon Ayuk is injured in this game as well, so I don't even know if he's going to play. So I don't think they have much. I know C.J. Beathard threw 3 touchdowns last week. Jeff Wilson had 184 yards rushing. I don't think that's going to happen again this week against Seattle. And even if it does, Seattle's defense, I think right now is playing a lot better than Arizona's offense. So I'm going to take Seattle to win this game and still have a chance of the 2 or the 1 seed.
You guys, I wish the 49ers so much luck next season. This team was decimated by injuries from week 1 forward, and it never got better. Every single week, it seemed like at one point, someone was being hurt and wasn't just out for like a couple of weeks. We've had people out for the entire season. And that being said, being so decimated with injuries, I don't see a way for them to get a win in the Seattle game because of how well Seattle was playing right now on the offense. Again, this is another team on their defense that's kind of suspect from game to game. But the way the offense is playing right now, the way Russell Wilson has these guys playing, I definitely see them getting the win there because they know that they're trying to lock up that seed. And again, this is one of the ones where it could be anywhere from the 1 to the 3 seed. I know that they're going to give it their all and play with some heart. Definitely giving this one to the Seahawks. Next up, we got the 11-4 New Orleans Saints headed to Carolina to face the 5-10 Panthers. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, I thought this one would be a lot closer, but now that Mike Davis isn't going to play in this game, we know Christian McCaffrey's not going to be in this game. I think it's going to be a lot tougher for them to do anything. New Orleans defense has been playing outstanding. I know they've been giving up points, but they've been playing very good the past 6 weeks of the year. They're not going to have to worry about the rush this week, so they're going to be able to concentrate everything on the pass game, which they're able to do with Marcus Lattimore. Their Cam Jordan is getting a pass rush there as well. Drew Brees played very good last week. Obviously, we saw Alvin Kamara had 6 touchdowns last week and 155 yards rushing. He's not going to do that again this week. It's only been done once in NFL history before, so it's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. They are still going to do enough, and as we talked about the other 2 teams, Seattle and Green Bay, they have to win to keep their seed. Right now they're the 2 seed. If they win, they'll definitely stay there. They'll most likely stay there. They could go up to 1, but it's likely they'll be at number 2, and I think they're going to be able to do that, so I'm going to take the Saints here to win.
Carolina is another team that's been really hurt by injuries. With both CMC and Mike Davis out, that means they don't have a consistent running game, and that means they're going to have to lean more heavily on their passing game. I like Teddy Bridgewater, but I've seen Teddy Bridgewater take some massive sacks. I've seen him throw some questionable balls that fell flat or got picked off, so don't have high hopes for him. Saints, meanwhile, the way the Saints have been playing on all cylinders this season, even when Drew Brees was out and the fact that Taysom Taysom Hill had to take over and Taysom Hill started throwing passing touchdowns, which no one has ever seen him do before. They've had a great season, you guys, and they're always good to watch. And in a way, Alvin Kamara took over last week. My God, people, did y'all see Alvin Kamara last week? Incredible. This kid is fired up. This kid is ready. He wants to go to a damn Super Bowl, and I ain't mad at him, and I hope he gets a chance to go there. And the only way they're going to do that is hopefully I'd like to see him take over at least the 2 seed. Let's see if they pull this off. Come on, you guys. Giving this game to the Saints. Next up, we got the 10-5 Tennessee Titans headed to Houston to face the 4-11 Texans. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, if they win this game, they are in the playoffs. They'll win the division. If they lose this game, they're likely out of the playoffs. So this is a must-win game for them as well. This one's going to be easy. Last year, they played the same team, Houston, in Week 17. Houston didn't have anything to play for. They sat everybody. This year, they don't have anything to play for. They're not going to sit anybody. They just don't have anybody. Derrick Henry ran for 237 yards last week in the final week of the year to get the rushing title. He could go for 337 this week, and I just think it's going to be Derrick Henry 28, Texas or Houston like 10.
It's all Derrick Henry all the time. You guys, poor Houston. They had such an atrocious season. Did it have to do with the coaching / GM change that happened early in the season? That probably played a part in it. Injuries played a part in it. It's a lot that's going to have to change for them this offseason. Tennessee, meanwhile, is another one of these playing your end teams. So they're going to give it every goddamn thing they got. And the way they're going to do that is behind Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry. Run it down their throat. And I definitely see Derrick Henry I easily see him getting 200 yards in this game. How many touchdowns? Let's say 2 touchdowns and 200 yards in this game. I know I said $150 last time. I was off because he actually went over. But I'm definitely giving him 200 in this game and 2 touchdowns. Giving this game to the Titans. Don't expect it to be close.
Yeah, we were talking about Cam Newton's next career being a fashion stylist. I think J.J. Watt's next career should be a motivational speaker.
For sure. After that speech he gave. Next up and last up, we got the 6-9 Washington football team headed to Philly to face the 4-10-1 Eagles. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, saving the worst for last here. Washington is going to be without Dwayne Haskins this one. We know that. They released him, which honestly they should have. I do hope he gets a job somewhere else, but they had to get rid of him. He just wasn't working out there. They're not going to have, Alex Smith most likely in this game. He's not completely healthy. They want him to be back, but they don't know if he can or not, so it's going to be Tyler Heineke if he's not able to come back. They're going to have Antonio Gibson back in this game, but they're not going to have Terry McLaurin, so it's going to be very tough for them to win. I still think they would be able to pull it out, although Jalen Hurts is playing out of his mind right now. I am an Eagles fan, I'm going to have to pick the Eagles in this one, but I really hope that if the Eagles do win this one, I have to say that I hope Dallas wins the other game, because if Dallas loses and the Giants win, then you're going to have a 10-loss team in the playoffs, and that just shouldn't happen.
Yuck on the whole entire outcome of this. I hate the NFC East this year. I truly hate it. I hate that there's a possibility of a 10-loss team going in as a division winner and getting a home game. I just don't think that's fair. And there is a possibility of that, unless one of these 6-9 teams pulls off a win. And that can happen if the damn Washington football team can figure out a way to win a game behind Taylor Heineke. Now, they will have Antonio Gibson in this game. Maybe they can lean a little more heavily on their ground game. They won't have Terry McLaurin in the game, though. That's a big weapon to lose there. They got, this defense, though, behind Chase Young. This kid is definitely defensive rookie of the year. Hands down. Just the way he's played is not even a question, is not up for debate. Kid is definitely defensive rookie of the year. He's already a captain on the squad. Yeah, this kid is fun to watch. Love what he's doing. I expected him to be going after Jalen Hurts in this game. Even if the rest of the team isn't fired up the way that Chase is fired up to play this game, because Chase knows this might be an opportunity for him in his first season to get into the playoffs. Expect this to be a close game. Expect this to be a dogfight, because Washington is playing for something. Chase is going to push Tyler, because that's what he did last week. If you've seen some of these mic'd up, you'll see that Chase was pushing Tyler. Come on, dude, you can do this. You got this. This is your game. This is your game. This is your team now. You can do this. You hear having Chase saying that in your ear, that might fire this kid up. That might get Tyler worked up, Get him ready. Get him ready to go against this Eagles weak defense. Jalen Hurts, though, my goodness, he's a QB that's fun to watch and has a good future. I don't know whether or not they'll stick with it. I'm hoping that they do because I like what I'm seeing out of him. He's got his weapons there. Deshaun Jackson had a fantabulous touchdown. My goodness, the offense there is great where Washington has a better defense. So like I said, it's going to be a dogfight. At the end of the day, who do I say is going to win this game? Who do I want to win this game? I want Washington to win it. I'm sorry. I just want Washington to win this game and get into the playoffs. They're going to get eliminated in the first round. I ain't worried about that. But I do not want to see the Giants get into this with 10 losses, and I don't like the Cowboys. I know I'm being biased, and it's probably not realistic, but I got to give it to Washington. I know they're going to find a way, get fired up, have Chase Young push the rest of these kids, giving this one to the football team. Well, you guys, that's all our matchup. And hopefully one of y'all won your fantasy league with the help of Dominick, who's been great all season long. Dominick, thank you so much for all the help you provided to everybody this season.
Yeah, thanks. I enjoy doing it. I love doing it, and I love doing the show with you, and hopefully we keep doing it.
Hey, we for sure going to be rolling through these playoffs, and we got some predictions coming for y'all for who we think are going to win the NFL honors this year. Stay tuned for that coming. Meanwhile, that's all the time we have this week, you guys. Want to thank everybody again for listening. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at TheNFLGirl320. Dominick, where can they follow you?
You can follow me at EnvisionFF.
You can read more of my thoughts on SheKnowsProFootball.com. Dominick, where can they read your work?
You can find my work at FantasyHotRead.com, RotoBaller.com, and ExpandTheBoxScore.com.
Thanks, everybody, again for listening. Thank you for sticking with us all season. See you back here for the playoffs.